What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Quisha King Show. I am your host, Quisha King, where we talk about faith, culture, and politics. And today, I have a very special guest. He is a 13 and a half year Navy veteran from South Central LA. He's a founder and CEO of a government contracting and development company. He is the former host of KABC's radio show, New Black Republican, and currently holds a bachelor's degree in accounting from the University of Phoenix. He ran for Congress in the 2020 election against Maxine Waters, and he almost got 80,000 votes, which is a lot, which is 3 times more than any other candidate, both Democrat and Republican, to run against her. So I wanted to talk with this young man and see what his plans are and learn more about him. I welcome Joe Collins. Hi, Joe.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Good. So I gave a little brief intro. Now that's your, standard intro. I want you to tell the people a little bit more about yourself and why you are running.
I'm from South Central Los Angeles, born and raised. Our mother moved me and my 2 sisters to Texas after our house was shot up in a drive-by. I was in high school at the time and graduated high school. I was going to junior college and I was working, and I decided to go to the U.S. Navy when a recruiter came into Walmart, started talking to her, and I guess the rest was history. After the military, I actually got out of the military to get involved in politics, and I started as a presidential candidate and was doing a lot. When I got out of the military, I was homeless for a short period of time. And I was going to Maxine Waters' office back and forth to try to get her to help me with my VA benefits. And I couldn't even get an answer from Maxine Waters. And so when the Trump administration reached out to me, they told me I should think about running for an office where I'm from. And so that's why I decided to run against Maxine Waters. I mean, I'm from South Central Los Angeles. You look at the condition of the district, look at the amount of homeless people, the amount of poverty that we have in that community, and how she treated me. I could just imagine how she treats everybody else who is under her leadership. And so, we went after Maxine Waters in the 43rd district.
Yeah. So you were homeless after you came back from fighting for our country?
Yeah, it's kind of common for service members to experience some state of homelessness when they get back from war or when they get out of the military. And that's because the VA system is extremely broken. It's so hard for us to get our benefits. It's so hard for us to get appointments to check and see if we have any type of mental health issues, if we have any physical issues. And, you can't work unless you get a VA rating. And a lot of people give up.
Right. So I remember Trump had done some really important legislation for the VA benefits. Did you find that they were, effective? Did you find them to basically have no teeth? What did you think about them?
No, I thought the VA policies are pretty good. I mean, they allow the opportunity for more doctors to come into the VA, allow for them to hire more staff and have more funding, and even go back and treat patients who have been mistreated for a very long time. So I thought it was pretty effective.
I thought they were really good too. I don't know if you know, but I ran the Black Voices for Trump office during the 2020 campaign here in Jacksonville, Florida. And we, during, certain events that we would have, we had veterans come in and talk about these benefits, and they were so excited about them. They really were like, this is unlike anything that they had ever seen really be done for veterans. So I think that's one thing that people don't really know that Trump did for the VA. They are still, I know when Joe Biden got in there, he was like removing everything. So are those benefits still, is that policy still in place, or, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, the policies are still there for the veterans. That's something that you can't get rid of,
Gotcha. So that was like actual, like legislatively done through Congress. It wasn't like an executive order then, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. So let's talk about Miss Maxine Waters. Full transparency, I am not a fan of Maxine Waters. Needless, I mean, she with her comments about, back Trump supporters in a corner. If you see anybody from this administration, what you're supposed to do to them. To me, that was, I won't say it's like, inciting violence. I don't know if I want to go that far, but it was certainly inciting harassment. It was not something you would expect a elected official to say about the president of the United States. And it was so inappropriate. And she gets there's nothing. She gets a pass. So thinking about like you have to you're battling that type of person. To me, she comes off as somebody she's just nasty. She's just a nasty person who would do something like that, to say that to people. How do you prepare a campaign with somebody that vicious? Like, what? I don't want you to give away all your secrets, but like, what? How do you fight against somebody like that?
Well, we never thought that like we would have to endure anything of that nature. And it wasn't Maxine Waters that we had to worry about. It was the people who take everything she says to heart that we had to worry about, the people who just like really believed in that message. Maxine Waters, I mean, she's all bark, no bite, but she can influence people to do certain things. And we've had a lot of run-ins with people throughout the community. She sent guys with guns to our events to try to intimidate us, our office.
Wait. Not the Democrats who don't like guns. Wait. She sent people with guns to your campaign events?
Yeah, she did. And we got into it with those guys. Yeah. And that's where when people kept that, you got these guys and they'll take videos and they'll twist them. I had already put the video out, but people would be like, oh, he says Trump didn't do anything for the Black community. And they missed the part, because I'm arguing with these guys back and forth. And they missed the part where I says, well, because our legislatures in Los Angeles are all Democrats, and so the policies never come to our communities. So in essence, he has never done anything for anybody in our communities because of, certain legislators that are Democrats. And but yeah, I mean, like, it was a constant thing. It was a constant battle having to fight with these guys on a regular basis, our office being vandalized. We've even had 2 people who were volunteering on our campaign shot and killed throughout the election cycle. So
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was, I mean, we were right in the center of South Central Los Angeles. It's extremely dangerous. But it was a constant battle every single day, all day. It's so many things that went on that people didn't even know about. And it was a mess. Yeah,
that is really crazy. So, I mean, did you fear for your own life? I mean,
no, I'm a combat veteran. It's not much that scares me, but I was scared for the people who used to come volunteer on our campaigns, because, I mean, when you run against Maxine Waters, you never know what type of foolishness is going to happen on any given day.
That is really, really crazy. So when this does get out into the community, like things that she's done, like send people with guns or people dying, just because you are a conservative, I'm guessing, just because you're running against, this establishment person. When people hear about that, Black people in particular, who are Democrats, and most Black people don't advocate for anything like that, so how do they respond to, what you're telling them about her and what she's capable of? How do they take that?
People already know. I mean, she's been auntie gangster for a long time. I mean, this is what she does, and you expect nothing less,
Not auntie gangster. AG.
Yeah. They say attitude reflects leadership, but if you look at our district, it is a reflection of her leadership, because it's a mess.
Wow, that is really, really crazy. Okay, well then, so the people know what she's capable of. Why are they still voting for her? Like, what? I know, I mean, you really cut into her base, I guess, but what is it? What is the appeal?
She's another Black woman, and Black people are always emotionally entwined, and every single Black person that's a Democrat for some reason. I mean, same NAACP, who haven't done anything for Black people since damn near their existence. The same
Right.
Congressional Black Caucus, all of these older Black people who always talk about civil rights and racism and fighting, people just like emotionally wrapped up into nonsense. And it doesn't make any sense to me. But I guess if you've been brainwashed for 20, 30 years to believe this crap, it's kind of hard to unbrainwash and make you believe something different.
Yeah, it is hard. I saw that with, during the Trump campaign, there was this guy, I was wearing a Black Voices for Trump shirt. And the moment he saw Trump, he lunged at me and was like, I can't even repeat the things that he called me. I mean, I'm like this older Black man sitting there with like a young teenager and like, I don't know, his mother or something like that. And this dude just like lunges at a woman. Like,
yeah,
it is. I mean, that whole mentality though is really crazy that, of the brainwashing of, you don't know this man. Like people don't know Maxine personally,
exactly.
But you're ready to like dive on somebody for, seeing a name on a shirt. You're ready to like cape for this woman, no matter how bad your city looks, no matter how bad things get, no matter how much crime continues to rise. But that makes me think, okay, the Democrats have trash policies, but a lot of times they're looking, when people do get fed up, they look to the Republican Party and they're like, well, so can you talk a little bit about what has been your experience like dealing with Republicans? What's, what do you see them doing that's wrong? What could they do better?
I like to keep it real.
Please
everybody in the Republican Party, I don't necessarily agree with or jive with. I have some friends in the party, but I think the biggest failure from the Republican Party is they let go of urban America. And I'm not talking about just where Black people live. I'm talking about urban America, where you have dense populations of people, and Republicans will give up urban America's bigger cities and take rural cities. And what they don't understand is, you look at the population of Los Angeles with 11 million people. You look at the population of Chicago with 6 or 7 million people. All of these major areas, these major urban areas, Democrats control, and there is no Republican presence. And so when we look at issues like election integrity, when we look at issues like the policy making, or even when it comes to the Electoral College, the reason why Democrats can have small pockets of conglomerates and Republicans can have like the whole entire country is because that one city makes up for like 4 or 5 different states. And
Right.
So Republicans, they missed the mark on that. They think that, oh, we got this state, and that state, and that state. Well, it's like, well, you got a population of 3 or 4 million in one state. And, you got big cities that got populations of 11 to 12 million. And so these 11 to 12 million in this one city is going to outdo all of the work that you did in these rural areas. And another thing is, like, they always talk in the echo chambers. They want to preach Republican message to Republicans. They want to preach the message of poverty. I mean, not poverty, the message of success and the message of freedom and stuff to people who already agrees with that message. And it's like, you got to stop talking to people who already agree with you and start talking to people who have never seen you before, people where it may be a little hostile, people who might even agree with everything you're saying. You just have never said it to them before. And those are the 2 biggest failures of the Republican Party, in my opinion.
That is so true. So I remember like knocking on doors and this, like several people, but this one lady in particular, she was like, I have never met a Black Republican. She's like, I never met a Republican, let alone a Black one.
Exactly.
And I'm like, wow, my city is 30% Black and she has never met a Republican. How sad is that? Like, we have so much work to do in our own party. Like, it's like we can go around beating our chest because Biden he's so trash. Like, everybody knows, okay, it's no secret. We knew it was going to be trash. But it's like, I feel like instead of us providing solutions and like really getting out there and talking to these people and organizing and taking advantage of this opportunity to get the message, the conservative message, into naturally conservative people. Black folks are naturally conservative, like we are. And it's like, well, Biden's doing so bad, we're just gonna march right in there. And it's like, okay, yeah, you're probably gonna win in 2022. You probably win in 2024. But long term, how are we going to keep people? Because if we continue doing what we've always done, they might come over for 2022 and 2024, but they're going to look around and say, these candidates aren't that great either, because we have a lot of, I know in my city, we have a lot of problems with the GOP running weak conservatives. Do you see that? I know I see it like around the country, but like in particularly California, Los Angeles, what's the Republican candidates looking like?
Well, I don't think the party picks the candidates, especially here in California. People decide to run. And I think that when people run, they want to be more popular than they want to actually win their race or actually do things for the community. And I see that clown show happen all over the place, and everybody want to have the best talking points, but nobody ever want to put in the work. Right. When it comes to the Republican Party, they don't put resources behind strong candidates, you know. But if they start doing great things, then we get trashed on a regular basis because our message is not the same as their message, or we don't think the same, we don't act the same, or we want certain people to stop making inflammatory comments because their comments affect us since we're all, conservatives. But I think that the Republican Party is going to have to eventually start putting, resources behind more than just whites and Asians. Because when you see the Kevin McCarthy's and all these people stand up on the stage and say, we have a really diverse party, and you look up there and it's whites and Asians, it's like, that's not really diverse. Those are not people of color. I mean, it sounds great, but, eventually the party's going to eat itself alive. And just like the Democrat Party is eating itself alive right now, and you're going to have a lot of independents, and people are going to run as independents. They're going to find a third party to be a part of in order to run. I think inclusion is something that's important. The Republican Party is going to have to start being more inclusive to everyone and stop expecting everyone to be that cookie cutter, tan pants and blue shirt type of dude.
No. It's the black jacket, the white shirt, and the red tie. And for the ladies, it's the dress with the pearls, Joe. We had a meeting the other day. So we're starting the coalition of Black Republicans here in Jacksonville, and they wanted to do like this picture. And yeah, I think it's great. And they wanted to do a picture, and I'm like, can we please not have everybody looking in uniform, like the Republican uniform, the black, the red, the white, and the pearls and all. I'm like, we have got to be able to show the diversity that is in the party, because we at least in Jacksonville, we have somewhat of it's majority white, but we do have other people coming into the party, people of color coming into the party, and people that, because what we did with Black Voices for Trump here in Jacksonville, it was, not to toot my own horn, but toot. We really brought in some young Black men. Honestly, Black men was the best demographic that we did with here. And I think that's kind of over across the board. Black men really get the conservative message. But I'm like, we've got to show what they look like. We need some people with, a fitted on and some Timbs and some Air Force One. Everybody can't look, cookie, like you said, like that cookie cutter. They've got to look like they belong. They've got to be able to see themselves in the party, even if they don't look like what you think a Republican should look like. But I don't know. They're like, some people were like, yay, and some people were like, nay. And so we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
You kind of just got to do your own thing. You can't focus on, what people's opinions are, because you can't win races with opinions. That's
true. Facts. I saw on your campaign website that school choice was one of your top topic. Well, it was the first thing listed. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't realize that was a topic that you were really passionate about. So why is school choice something that you really want to pay attention to during your campaign and hopefully during your when you're elected?
Well, schools in the inner cities are trash. I mean, it's hands down. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And one of the problems is a lot of times schools are paid for by the community taxes. Now, if the community is poor, guess what? There is no tax money going to that school. And when a federal government divvies out its money to the states get to pick and choose which school is going to get money. And if your state or if your city or your community school is not, in that realm that the state want to give money to, you're going to continue to be poor. And when you don't have school choice, those parents don't get an option to send their students to a better school. They're stuck with the trash schools because the politicians don't want to put more money into these communities to rebuild these communities. So, yeah, I think that parents should have an option to send their children to school wherever they feel like they're going to be successful. And if these schools can't get together, they deserve to fail. They need to fail.
That's right.
Even with the teachers union recycle teachers. If a teacher messes up in a very nice school, they're going to send them to the inner cities. And you already have a teacher that didn't care when they was there. They definitely not going to care when they're in my community. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and, there was an old saying, a good education is the great equalizer. I still believe that. We talk about equality. Well, now everybody want to talk about equity. I don't want anything to do with equity. I want to talk about equality. But
people don't even know what equity is.
And at least not in that type of way, like the way that the left is trying to push equity. I am not interested. That is not anything that I'm interested in, because if my kid or myself or, anyone is working hard, doing the work, and then you have your neighbor, your school, your peer, your coworker who's not doing anything, I don't want to get the same thing that they get. If they're not doing hard work, it's like, well, let's make we need equity, having equal outcomes. Like, if I'm working hard, I want to see the fruits of my labor. I'm sorry, I do.
Exactly.
But, yeah. So when you see, gosh, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? When you see these people who don't vote for folks who are for school, this is always a trip to me. You take advantage of school choice when it's there. But when it's time to vote, you vote for the people who are against school choice. Like that literally almost happened here in Florida. So Governor DeSantis he had like over 100,000 Black mothers that voted for him, that literally got him over the line because of that one issue, school choice. Mm-hmm. Andrew Gillum, who was the Democrat candidate, explicitly said he was going to end school choice. It was on his website. He said he was a socialist. And you had all these Black folks that were voting for them. And I was like telling my cousins and things like that, and people like that who I knew utilized school choice. And I'm like, yo, this dude is saying he's going to end something that your children benefit from it. And one of my cousins was like, well, then who do I vote for? I'm like, the other guy.
It was because he was Black.
Right.
He was their rising star until he got caught passed out with cocaine and cheating on his wife with his boyfriend, at that hotel room. But
honey,
magically disappeared from it. Whatever.
Right. Well, I saw him trying to, peek his head out again. Well, I don't know, I guess sometime back in maybe like early 2021, I saw him peek out a little bit, but he went back undercover. Do you think he could ever reemerge? America's a pretty forgiving country. Do you think he could ever redeem himself after that one?
Yeah, absolutely. He just got to find the right path for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, divorce your wife and come out as gay. The gay community is going to get behind you. It's not that hard when everybody has a category that's getting pushed. I mean, this LGBTQ++ agenda is getting pushed across the entire United States for us. Yeah, it is.
No, stop it. Or were you just like being funny, or that's the new acronym?
That's the acronym, yeah. LGBTQATT++. Yeah.
I can't even. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. You might as well that's why Dave Chappelle was like the alphabet people, because soon it's literally going to be the entire alphabet. You might as well just say A through Z.
Well, you can thank Black liberals for supporting that stuff, because Black people, Black liberals support a lot of stuff. They don't even know what it is. It went from Black rights and then to Asian rights and then illegal immigrants rights, and Blacks didn't even get any rights. And it's just like, you guys You went from trying to push bills for yourself that didn't even exist. Now you got Asians that got bills for them. Illegal immigrants are about to be able to vote in the United States, and here you are still at the bottom of the food chain.
And
And
actually, yeah, in New York, they can already vote
in local elections. Yeah,
in local
I mean,
elections. Yeah.
You have to look at all this crap they were doing. When George Floyd died, they were kneeling with dashikis on and everything. And they were like, we got all these police reform bills. None of it got passed. And, then you got Joe Biden sitting up there cursing out the heads of the NAACP and stuff like that. And everybody's just sitting there quiet like a bunch of cowards. There's no way that would
when I saw that out, I was like, how you gonna let him talk to you like that? He was like, what did he say? He said something like,
he said, y'all gonna have to compete with Mexicans because we don't need y'all.
You better get in line with the you better get in line with the Mexicans because we ain't got nothing fighting.
And then he said he told them, I didn't need y'all to get elected. I ran on a platform and yada yada yada, and the people supported me. Y'all didn't do nothing for me. I thought Charlemagne's looking pretty stupid.
Mm-hmm. Joe Biden's like, yo, there are certain places that you just can't go and talk like that. I lived, so I'm originally from Florida, but I grew up in Connecticut, but I lived in the Bronx for a little bit and in Harlem for a little bit, but I lived there years ago. Back when you couldn't talk to people like that. Some of my homeboys still live there. You can't go up and, you just can't talk like that to people. And I'm just sitting there listening to this, wondering when somebody gonna pop up because surely, surely somebody's gonna say, wait, excuse me, Mr. President. Excuse me, with all due respect.
Anybody gonna do that? Liberals are so soft. The only time liberals are tough is over the internet on social media. Liberals are soft as all over. You got a lot of conservatives that are soft on in person as well, and they're really tough on social media as well. And I'll tell you this, I'm not a fan of our DA here in Los Angeles County, but he got rid of a lot of crimes. And now, you can talk trash and get smacked in the mouth and nothing's going to happen because the DA here is not going to arrest you. That's the only thing I like about him. Everything else, he's trash. But I think that, people need to start being held accountable for everything they do, everything they say, regardless of who you are. And that's the problem. Nobody is being held accountable. Everybody want to point the finger, play the blame game, and make an excuse for some idiot when they say something dumb.
Right. Unless you're a conservative, and if you question, you have a question about COVID, you have a question about the vax, the boost, the anything, it's like canceled, kicked off. And some of these things, that people got canceled for early on is now coming, like the CDC is now coming out and saying like, COVID, dying with COVID and dying of COVID, it's, actually there are two different things. And we might need to go back and look at the numbers and stuff. It's like, you actually kicked people off for just questioning these things. So it's pretty crazy. So picking back up with school choice and schools. So an article came out, I think it was yesterday. So we talked about, actually it was January the 18th. There's an article that says Gender Sexuality Club at Beaverton Elementary, okay, raises parents' ire. Parents said they weren't notified about the club before their kids were asked to join. The article says Beaverton parents expressed frustration at Tuesday's virtual school board meeting about a new club called the Queer Straight Alliance at Raleigh Hills Elementary. This is 4th and 5th grade students. This is a quote. These kids are far too young to be learning about this subject at school. They should be learning about different lifestyles with their parents, as is their right. One parent said during the meeting. KOIN 6 News spoke with district officials who said the club was started earlier this month by 2 5th graders. Started by 2 5th graders. I'm going to scroll down, but I want to talk about what the district said. This is like really crazy to me. So the district said, the district says 40 students signed up after the 2 students gave a presentation about the club to 4th and 5th graders. Since the presentation was during school hours, district officials said parent approval wasn't needed. That's the part. I mean, first of all, the whole club is crazy to me. But the fact that the district said, this is in school hours. We don't need your input. We don't need your approval because this is during our time. This is our time to do what we will with your kids. So you have no say, parents. What do you say about that? What are your thoughts?
I think those school officials over at Beaverton are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you got to think about who is pushing these 5-year-olds to legitimately start a club about
Fourth and fifth
sexuality.
graders. So 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds.
Fourth and fifth graders. Yeah, I don't know too many fourth and fifth graders who are talking about sexuality. To be honest, I have 12-year-olds, and they don't even talk about sexuality. That's not even something that crosses their mind. And on top of that, I think this whole push to make every single person non-binary or accept this, this notion that you can be who you want to or date who you want to. And if you're a guy, you don't like dating other guys, and then you're this. And if you're a female, you don't like dating other females, then you're that. If you don't accept transgender as a sexual preference, then you're this. I think it's all ridiculous, and I think it's a fad. I think it's going to phase out. But it's going to take people standing up to the ignorance, to say that, this got to stop. But as far as telling the school board, telling the students or those parents that the parents that is not going to have any say so in what goes on in school because of school time, I think that's a complete lie. Those parents do have a say so in what goes on in that school, and they absolutely should have a say so. And I think that's that school board thinking that they have more power than the parents, and that's always wrong. Those parents need to stand up to the school board and start advocating for some people to get fired.
Absolutely. It's crazy. So recently, Merrick Garland, through the National School Board Association, the NSBA, through the DOJ, the Biden administration, down to or up to Merrick Garland, they called us parents domestic terrorists. So how many children do you have?
I have 4 children. You
have 4 babies. So you, by default, because you stand up for your kids, are a domestic terrorist. Welcome to the club. Welcome. And
I don't mind it.
Right? It's like a badge of honor at this point. It is absurd to me that people feel comfortable to say out loud that during school hours, we don't have to tell you what. Remember those little consent forms that we used to send you? That was just for kicks and giggles. Like, we really didn't have to send you that. Exactly. We can do with your kid what we will. Because they are in our presence. They are in our government school. We don't have to notify you. We can have them do whatever they want to do. If the kids say that they want to do it, that's just fine with them. It makes me wonder, like, what is the real agenda here? Because to me, that's tantamount to grooming. If this was in any other setting, where would we be okay with our 9-year-old and our 10-year-old kids being exposed to sexual programming, sexual curriculum, sexual ideas, sexual anything, like 9 and 10? Because even with like sex ed, that started in like 6th grade, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I remember it being like junior high. So this is even like before just, typical sex ed. This is 9 and 10-year-olds talking about sexuality. Am I like being is that going too far? I think it's grooming. I'm like, what is your real agenda here? Why do you want to push this sexual stuff on my kids so much? Is that too much? Am I being crazy?
No, you're not being crazy. I think they're trying to normalize some form of pedophilia, and they have age fluid, just like they have gender fluid. And it's like, well, adult can be attracted to a kid because it's natural. And it's like, that's not natural. I mean, I can understand, like, back in the days of the knights and King Arthur, that, dating a 12 or 14-year-old was normal, but it's not normal anymore. And I think that those parents got to have a choice in what's being taught to those kids. I mean, never in my lifetime would I ever allow my 14-year-old daughter or my 12-year-old twin daughters to date a grown-ass man. That's just not going to happen. That man is going to be a hashtag. He's not going to exist anymore. So, and I think that, a lot of parents...
Wait. He going to be on somebody's T-shirt?
Yeah, he going to be a hashtag. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that's a rap line. Isn't that a line from a rap song? Is that Lil Baby, the baby, somebody baby? I don't know.
I sparingly listen to music because I'm so busy. I run an international development and contracting company, so I don't get an opportunity to listen to music a lot. I'm always on the go, always busy. But if
Yeah.
I do get an opportunity to listen to music, I will listen to the baby.
Okay. I
Or
think
something
he's
like
coming to Jacksonville. I saw a billboard. I don't know. Not really my style, not my kind. I mean, I like hip hop, but that's a little bit too. I don't listen to him, basically. I don't listen to the baby. But my
He's a little
daughter
vulgar.
likes Little Baby, not the baby, but Lil Baby. There's two. I get them
don't like Lil
confused.
Baby.
Anyway, but yeah, I understand, especially from a father's perspective. You have a natural desire to provide and protect. That protection instinct goes into high gear, and even as a mother, that mama bear instinct goes into high gear when you know that there is a predator after your child. When somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to be teaching your child about gender and sexuality at 9," from at 9 and 10 years old, my instinct, my mama bear, just it's it goes crazy, because I'm like, what is this? How dare you? How dare you think that you could talk to my children about this and not tell me? I think it kind of gives you the mindset of these people. I call them, to me, these are Marxists. They think, they want to raise up this group of activists. They want to totally tear down all types of identity, because so now we have to, and these are their words. I've been reading the papers of these like queer theorists or whatever, which is where a lot of this stuff comes from.
Queer theorist.
Yes. So, you have critical race theory, and then you have queer theory. Queer theory, critical race theory says we want to tear down the systemic, all the systemic norms and systemic racism. Queer theory says that we want to tear down heterosexual norms because they say that children aren't naturally heterosexual. So you should queer them. And part of the queering is this idea that they kind of, this is true. These are their words. This is not me making it up.
That's the problem with theories.
They do. Well, Marxism. This is critical theory, legal theory, all of these little theories and stuff that they use to agitate society, tear down all types of norms and stuff like that, that just aren't. It's not what American society wants. We don't want these kinds of things. What are your thoughts? The critical race theory thing has been a big thing. That's something that I have spoken openly about. What do you think about critical race theory and that whole thing?
I don't really care too much for it. I think if you want to talk about critical race theory, keep it in college. Don't bring it to high schools, and definitely don't lie to people and tell people who's teaching Black history, because that's the biggest crock of crap that anybody has ever heard, especially if you're familiar with it. Never have been a fan of critical theory, even critical legal theory. I don't think that is accurate. I think that it's like a ploy to take people off the fact that we've had politicians who have sat in office for years and years and years and done nothing about the laws that are on the books. Because if critical legal theory or critical race theory studies the impact of laws, which may or may not be racist, on the society and on Black people, then the only way to reverse that, so we don't even have to talk about it, is just get rid of the laws. Plain and simple. But that's not what we see happen in Congress. People always make new laws, or they pander, or they push an agenda to make some person feel like they're less than what they are because of something that they happened in the past.
Yeah.
Even when we talk about the entire United States history, the entire history of the United States isn't even being told. Only part of the history is being told. Everybody, they're being taught that every single Black person came here by way of slavery, which is the most inaccurate crap that I ever heard in my entire life. Even according to the Library of Congress, like, nobody want to teach the truth and nobody want to believe the truth. But that's what's been happening in the United States for a very long time. But I mean, it has to be corrected. It will be corrected eventually, but people don't read. People just don't read at
That's
all.
true. Well, because we have trash education systems. We have trash,
True.
we have good, I think there's good teachers, but the teachers have been we have this thing now. It's like whatever the expert says, it's like whatever the person with the PhD says, we're just going to believe. I mean, we see this with the COVID stuff, it's like the mad scientists, if they have like a bunch of letters behind their name, it's like whatever that expert says, we're just supposed to believe them. And the reason why we have, I think, the reason why we have so many people who think that critical race theory is either A, not really being taught, or B, it's simply about teaching true American history, you're right. People don't read because it's all about like passing a test now. It's not about critical thinking. It's not about teaching children how to think. It's not about getting them excited to learn. I pulled my daughter out of, so I have two daughters. My youngest daughter is a special needs child. I put her out of public school about 4 years ago. So I've had my battles with the public education system for a very long time. And then my oldest daughter was still in public school and I pulled her out 3 weeks ago. Do you know? So of course she did not want to go to, so she's in a homeschool co-op. She was like, oh my God, Mom, I don't want to go. I don't want to do it. I'm like, trust me, you might not like it now, but you'll love me. You'll thank me later. 3 weeks, only in the school for 3 weeks. She texted me. She goes, low key, Mom, I'm really starting to enjoy my love for learning is starting to come back. I mean, I could have cried, Joe. I really could have. This kid is like reading her history book for fun. Like that's what learning should do. Like it should make you want to just consume it. You know what I mean? Not feel like it's such a burden, but you are right. People don't read. They don't read. And this is part of the reason why the education piece is so important to me, because we're all of this, even your candidacy, candidates that are running, the education piece, this is all geared towards the next generation. All of these things, we are raising leaders. Mm-hmm. So if we don't get this right now and elect the people who are going to change the laws or get rid of some of these ridiculous laws or put some laws on the books that block a lot of this Marxist crazy nonsense and actually get some real education, what are we going to do? What do you think of future? How does America look if we don't change what's happening? Like, what does that look like?
It looks like
that's a loaded question, but
you'll just have the next wave of politicians staying in office for another 30, 40, 50 years. I mean, that's what happens. You raise a society of ignorant people. The people who train to be ignorant, they're going to be the people who are going to be in office. And those guys who make it into office during that time period are going to keep getting elected over and over again. I mean, it's, I'm not going to say that, teachers are bad. You have a lot of teachers and they have great intentions, but the ignorance in the education system is still going to be there. So you have a teacher with great intentions who is still ignorant because it comes directly from the education system and they're not questioning what's being taught or what's being put out as the curriculum for these schools. So unfortunately, the brainwashing is real. The great part about it is there's only a small percentage of Americans that will be brainwashed, and it happens over and over and over again. Like I was telling a friend of mine earlier, she said capitalism is like a stint that leads people into poverty. And I told her, no, it's not. And I told her anybody can be a capitalist. And she's like, everybody can't be a capitalist. I said, no, everybody can be a capitalist, but everybody is not going to be a capitalist. Some people are just made to work. Some people are made to be left alone. Some people, unfortunately, are made to be homeless. And you have other people who are made to, create businesses. And she goes, well, what about the wealth distribution? The people who makes the businesses pays the people less than what they're worth. And I said, the people who creates a business takes all the liability And so, yes, they pay that person for what they're worth. And unfortunately, if you have no education, if you have no skills, then guess what? You're not going to get paid a lot of money. Why should a worker at McDonald's get paid $25 an hour when I have an engineer that's getting paid $25 an hour? You know, and hypothetically, the engineer has a lot more education than the person working at McDonald's, and McDonald's is not a career choice to where anybody should want to work to retire. I think children should be working at McDonald's, or senior citizens who want to keep busy should be working at those low end jobs. When you talk about high functioning adults, you should absolutely want to do something that's going to, you know, add value to your life and lives to everybody else. But if you're giving everything away for free, then the value is lost. I mean, look at Section 8. The idea of Section 8 was great, but people just get it like, oh, it's a freebie from the government. And like, no, it's not. Section 8 actually comes from taxpayers. But since we're giving it to you, anything that comes with Section 8 is never going to be good because it has no value to people because it's free. You don't have to work for that stuff.
Right. Yeah. You know, there are some really good principles, even if you're not a Christian. I am a Christian, but even if you're not a Christian, there are some really good principles like in the Bible. And the Bible explicitly says, if you don't work, you don't eat.
You know,
and the principle of that is that work, there's value in that. There is value in being skilled at something. And I mean, I don't care what it is. I mean, if you lay carpet, if you are a garbage man, if you are a plumber, or if you're an engineer, if you're a general contractor, you know, whatever the skill is that you have worked to hone and be good at, you can take that to the market and sell it and be paid for your labor. And it's so funny to me that unfortunately, so many Black Americans in particular have this, you know, they're throwing their nose up to capitalism when capitalism was the thing that created, remember, you know, they always talk about, you know, Black Wall Street. It's like, well, what do you think created Black Wall Street? Capitalism. Exactly. It's like, why are you shunning capitalism? And you're listening to these Marxists, because that's what they are, try to make you believe that capitalism is a bad thing. It's like you're talking out of two sides of your mouth. Oh, you know, the Tulsa and Black Wall Street. It's like, okay, and then the other, you know, 2 seconds later, you're like, well, capitalism is bad. It's like, okay, but that's what created those cities, those neighborhoods had the million, it was more than just in Tulsa, but you know, that's what created that. And it's like, again, it goes back to education because people aren't reading. They don't know their own history. They don't know the own history that they're shunning.
Yeah, true.
It's so weird. It's so crazy. Like, we have got to do better. We have got to do, I mean, it makes me nuts, Joe. I can't. This is why I don't think I could ever be a politician, because I think if somebody came up to me, okay, I'm giving my speech, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then I'm like, any questions? And somebody's like, we got to get rid of capitalism. Like my face, whatever, like I would just go off. Like I can't deal with stuff like that. It's just like drives me nuts. So
I'll be like, all right, well, you start the Get Rid of Capitalism Coalition and just get a lot of people to get behind it. We're going to try to figure out a way that we can implement that, getting rid of capitalism, into how we can move forward productively. Get all of them to vote for me.
Right.
Give them all Section 8 vouchers. Let them just, hey, we got rid of capitalism for you guys. It's your community right here. Get Section 8 vouchers, get your food stamps and everything. got your community funded education from your tax dollars, and let me know how good that works out.
Let me know. Holla at me in about 5 years.
Yeah.
4 years.
Dang it, I like that.
No.
You know, one of the dumbest questions I get, like when I run for office, and I hate this question, and people be like, well, what are you going to do for us? And I can be like, I can do nothing and be better than what you have right now. You know? Because I can do absolutely nothing and be a Black man, clean cut, in politics, own my own business, and I'll be a shining example for your kid, and your kid will grow up and be successful. But you ask me what I'm going to do for you, ask your politicians, what have they been doing for the last 20, 30, 40 years? It's a better question.
Wow. Do you say that?
Yeah.
When they ask you that?
Yes, I have learned to not even care anymore.
You might as well. I mean, you might as well tell them the
Yeah,
truth. You might as well
because
tell them.
they're always
Yeah.
talking trash.
They need to hear that. They need to hear the hard reality. Yo, your politicians have been telling you that they're going. Your politicians have gotten that same question, and they list off all of these things that they say they're going to do that they actually never do.
Exactly.
And not only do they not do it, they only look out for themselves when they get in these offices. Yeah. They're not even thinking about you.
And then people be like, you politicians be lying. You politicians always lie. I'm like, no, the politicians you vote for lie, because this person has been in office for 37 years. So, and then you look down a list of politicians on a local level all the way to the federal level where you got 30 years plus. Sometimes I'd be like, I didn't even know that guy was in office that long.
Right.
30 years. Yeah.
I saw that on your website too, that you said it's time for these, I forget, I'm paraphrasing, so forgive me if I mess this up, but basically it's like it's time for these old people to pass the baton.
Basically, yeah. I think everybody complains about it.
They don't want to let it go. It's like, give it up, give up the ghost. Like, it's time to go. You are no more good here. But that just goes to show you that it's not really about the people. It's about themselves. Because if it was about the people, then they would realize, you know what? I've done all I can do. Or I failed it. I mean, they're never going to say that, but many times they should. I have failed at this. It's time for me to go. Let somebody else see what they can come in and do. But they will never do that because it's not about the people. It's about themselves.
Absolutely. And I agree.
Speaking of, and this is I just wanted to get your thoughts on this other article. Okay. Speaking of it being about themselves, the Supreme Court has just ruled that Biden's vax mandates are unconstitutional. Shocker. And I mean, his judges, federal judges have been like shutting it down all over. I don't know, statewide judges or federal judges, but anyway, judges across the country have been shutting it down. Have been shutting it down, but now the United States Supreme Court has also shut it down. I think that this whole thing, in large part, has been about themselves. What the big pharma can get, what Dr. Fauci not wanting to let go of his cushy little position that he's been in. Another one of these bureaucrats has been in there for, I don't know, 30 plus years, probably something like that. What do you think about the mandates, the mask mandates, vaccine mandates? Just this whole, I'm just going to ask you blanket. What do you think about just the whole COVID thing in general?
I think the COVID is real. I don't think it's as bad as what everybody seems. I mean, they could never pull SARS-CoV-2 from the COVID-19 variant. So I don't think that the vaccines were going to be effective from the get-go, especially for a virus. I thought the concept was kind of stupid. Whenever they start mandating things and they start saying people have like this moral obligation to get vaccinated to protect everybody else, I was like, people don't have the moral obligation to do anything that they want to do. And the morality of a person is something that you can never judge. So if you can't even judge it, how can you say people have the moral obligation to do something that they don't want to do with an experimental shot? I'm not going to call it a vaccine. I'm going to call it a shot, because vaccines actually help. This one does nothing.
For 6 months. It'll cover you for about 6 months, so they say. So that's what they're saying today. Right. We'll see what they say in 2 months, but 6 months or so.
Yeah, I never understood how we went from 2 weeks quarantine to slow the spread to get this vaccine, and people are still dying at higher rates with the vaccine, and then the second vaccine, then a booster, then a booster junior, and just like I've never understood it. But why would anybody listen to a
booster junior?
That's what it is, the booster junior. This next round of vaccines. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Government $30 trillion in debt, and they want to dictate your life. Like, first off, let's balance this checkbook, and then you can talk about my life.
Right?
I think the average American probably only got like $20,000 or $30,000 in debt. If they went to college, maybe 100,000, 200,000. But $30 trillion, and you want to tell somebody what to do? Priorities out of order.
Oh my gosh, I am so happy you said that. Okay, so 2 things. when when they first were like, we're gonna quarantine the healthy, I was like, what kind of I'm not a doctor. I am not a doctor. I don't, I'm just a girl who knows something about, my degree is in marketing. That's about it. I have no medical degree. I have no interest in any of that stuff.
Most
But when they said to me that that one of the solutions was to quarantine healthy people, I said, oh, this is stupid. Like, this is really, really dumb. I had never heard, why in the world we quarantine healthy people? That was so stupid to me. So I gave them 2 weeks. So we sat, me and the girls were like, okay, 2 weeks. So we sat around here for 2 weeks. I said, okay, we gave y'all 2 weeks, girls. Let's pack it up. We're out of here. And we've been living our lives free. And thank God we're in Florida. We've been fine ever since. Because I'm like, if I'm going to die, I'm not going to die sitting up in here in the house.
Yeah. Can't be quarantined if you don't listen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said, you can't be quarantined if you don't listen.
Right? Yeah. I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not doing this. I gave you 2 weeks. We're out of here. The other thing is, oh gosh, what was I going to say?
Flights was like $30 where everybody was quarantining, right? I was crisscrossing the country. Flights was like $30. I mean, from California to Florida, probably like $46. And I was like, and this is with Delta. Swear to God, I was out of here. You're going to catch Corona. I don't care. I'm going to catch Corona. I'm going to die happy. Let me go.
Okay.
I've still never caught the virus. And I've been going all over the place.
We all got it, but it was like January of last year. So it was like January. I didn't even realize that I had it. It was like, I didn't, because it was not typical. Like it was, not to be all graphic, but it wasn't, I didn't have any respiratory symptoms. It was all like intestinal. I'll just say that. Then like right near the end, I got a couple sniffles and then couldn't smell or taste for like, I don't know, 2 days. Then my smell and taste came back and, we were good. My daughter's, theirs was kind of sort of like intestinal too. Had a couple sniffles for a day. My youngest daughter, I was like, oh, I was recovered and then they were suffering with it. And then, not even really suffering with it. It was like literally like 2 days, like max. And then my youngest daughter, I'm like, in recovery. And I'm like, how are you feeling? She's like, I'm great. And I'm like, oh.
Nice.
Yeah, cool. It was pretty crazy. But to think that so many people have not come out of their homes for months or not even like, have been literally totally consumed by this whole thing and will do like anything. They're like waiting for their next instruction from the master.
They probably are.
You ever seen Toy Story? And then, the claw, when the claw comes down, and it's like, oh, Claw is our master. Claw tells us who will come and who will stay. That's how they are. They're like, oh, the claw, and they're waiting for the Claw Fauci to like tell them like how to live. It's unbelievable that this is a large part of America.
That's true. That's true. I believe it, though. I mean, like, look at the voting history. The voting history tell you everything that you need to know.
That's true. I never thought about it like that. Because if you would continue to vote for the same people, regardless of what they do over and over and over, like, our lovely friend Maxine Waters, you continue to vote for her like over and over and over. Yeah, you probably will believe whatever is coming through the mainstream media. Yeah, that's pretty wild.
I think both Republicans and Democrats have a lot of age politicians that just need to just step down and leave. It's not even just on the Democrat side. I mean, just as many old age, played out, washed out, failed Democrats, they have the same amount of, Republicans that need to step down as well. So, it's not synonymous to one party. Everybody needs to go. Like, we just need to have like a spring cleaning of politicians on the local and federal level, because these guys are ridiculous. Even in the Supreme Court. I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she was entirely too old to be sitting on the Supreme Court. And I don't
Yeah.
think that people after a certain sit in a lifetime position. We should have no lifetime positions, you know?
Yeah,
Supreme
that's
Court, 20 years, call it a wrap.
okay. I'm with you on that. I am all for term limits. And I get what people like, I get why it's like people have their questions about term limits. I get it. When you have a good politician, you don't want them to go anywhere. But hey, you need to be training up the next
Exactly.
one to come through then. So I am all for term limits. And I never thought about it with the Supreme Court, but why not? I mean,
Even them too.
yeah, new blood, new fresh ideas. Life, things are, with technology, things are changing so fast. We need politicians who are going to be able to, keep up with the times and, make a law or take laws off the books that are, not needed anymore, that are, outdated. But I really, really appreciate talking to you. This has been really fun. No, seriously, because I want this show to be relaxed and, just like talking with your friend, you know what I mean? And I don't want it to be so like, so I really appreciate, I know you're running for office, and I really appreciate your candor and your honesty and just, letting the people see who you really are. So it was really, really fun talking to you.
Thank you. Likewise. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So what do you have coming up? Do you have any things you want to share with my audience that they should be on the lookout for?
Things coming up. We are going to be running in a new district since they finished redistricting. And I'm going to be running the most conservative area of Los Angeles. Believe it or not, we have one of those now.
Wow.
I'm going to be running there. Yeah, they gerrymandered our district out of control. We took it from a D plus 59 to a D plus 24, which I don't even get credit for that. We registered over 50,000 Republicans. I don't get credit for that either. But then they gerrymandered the district and took it back to a D71. And then they created another district that's extremely conservative. So I'll be running there in this next upcoming election. I think we're going to have our campaign kickoff in March. We're going to have a huge rally out here in Los Angeles. And probably going to try to do like a West Coast takeover and hit all the states and cities on the West Coast, since people always leave us out of everything.
Yeah.
I might be at CPAC. I have no idea. I don't know yet.
Okay.
Have a NASCAR event coming up on the 25th and 26th of January with Jeff Zink. That's pretty cool.
Okay.
NASCAR supporting him. I support Jeff. He was the guy doing the audits, running the audits in Arizona.
Okay.
For this last election cycle. I think that's all I got for right now.
All right. Sounds good. Well, you are certainly busy. You got a lot going on, and good luck with your campaign. And I hope you take it over. I hope you do that West Coast takeover, and we get some others, strong conservatives in there who are America first, who will fight for our country, for our kids, for the next generation. So thank you, Mr. Joe Collins. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
All right. Thanks, Quisha. I appreciate it.
Okay. Talk to you later.
All right. Peace.
Bye.